I love hearing the birds. Like the mics are picking up the chirping and stuff.
I know, that's been the nicest part about recording in the yard. Constant bird action.
It's so peaceful.
I'm slowly becoming like a videographer of bird life as well. Trying to become one with nature.
You could just put this on a meditation app and then you could make a killing on it.
Comically enough, one of the podcasts I haven't posted, I have a meditation app idea, basically.
Oh, really?
It's not serious. I say I want to do like 40 minutes where it's like a calming, nice meditation. And then all of a sudden you realize your car insurance is going to be paid. No worry about it. Like all of a sudden it brings up some sort of real world issue, right? Like 40 minutes into you totally transcending or something.
I do love that it's like really reassuring though. It's like, it's been paid though, so don't worry about it.
Well, I think the joke I originally said was like, I'm sure your dad loves you. So it was reassuring, but it was also extremely undermining in that way. I didn't introduce you, by the way. Arpit, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Happy Memorial Day, 25th episode.
Oh man, I can't believe I got to be part of the 25th.
Unbelievable. It's kind of ridiculous you haven't been on yet.
I know, it's been crazy.
Arpit and I have been having good conversations for 25 years.
Yeah.
You know? We've been best friends forever, able to talk about what the world means to us so far.
Yeah.
This quarter century. So we're gonna recap the entire quarter century we've known each other over the next 50 minutes. We get 2 minutes for each year.
Oh fuck.
That we get
okay.
to go over. I hope that's cool. You got your notes, right? The whole nine.
Ages 6 through 10 are gonna be a blur. Lots of experimenting.
Yeah, I was gonna say 6 through 10. I was gonna say 26 through 30. There's different ages we can look at. Wonder. You know, try to map it all out.
Is this on YouTube? Like, is there an age verification on this podcast? Like, do you have to be over 18 for it, or how's that going to work?
You do. Well, to be honest, I don't let anyone watch this that doesn't have a Venmo account. I don't know what the age is on Venmo, so it has to do with that.
That makes sense.
You know, I'm just trying to look at the customer base.
There's one thing I've always wanted to do. If you guys are watching this video, go ahead and like and subscribe.
Of course.
Sorry, I had to get that out of the way.
No, thank you. I never say that, so I should start like reminding my guests to hook me up in that way. You know, like, can you do my dirty work? What do you think when you watch YouTube like that and you're seeing the whole like and subscribe thing? Like,
I never do it.
It's a whole. I know. It's just in one ear out the other. That's why I don't say it. I trust people to choose what they want to pursue in terms of their viewing schedule. Without getting too deep into the podcast weeds here, which is very easy to do on this beautiful Memorial Day, I'd love to talk about your scooting experience, because you just came over here in like a novel way.
Yeah.
You got to use one of these high-tech 2020 scooters.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about, I don't know if you want to talk about the power of this thing?
Sure, yeah.
Of this rig, or what the experience is like coming over?
For sure. This will be cool too. Like 20 years from now, we could be the Elon Musk. Like, damn, they were running scooters back then?
Oh yeah, well,
Sweet.
you.
Yeah.
I'll give the credit to you on that one for sure. Or at least like the Ed Begley Jr. Didn't he like have an electric car in the early 90s or something?
Yeah.
You know, like a celebrity a little bit ahead of their time.
We're like driving the Priuses of our generation right now.
Yeah.
Like how those were super cool back in the late 90s or early 2000s, whenever they came out.
Isn't it? It's 20 years old now or something crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, we were turning 16 near when the Prius was released, or a little bit after. It was at least on our radar. Obviously, I think you wanted a Nissan Altima at the time, not a Toyota Prius, but
100%
something
true.
way cooler than that. But it was definitely something that was like, coming to the forefront with automotive technology.
Yeah, it was.
Let's hear about scooting technology.
Yeah, for sure. So, rode a scooter over here. It was going 15 miles an hour. Rode down Lawrence Avenue, which is a little beat up right now.
I may live off Lawrence. I may not live off Lawrence. I may live near Lawrence.
Yeah. It was on a Lawrence Avenue.
Why don't you tell us where you started, Arpit, not where you ended?
For a short stretch of maybe a few miles here or there.
Hey, I'm very proud of my Chicago roots. Yeah. So I'm talking up the city all the time. No, but Lawrence is a good scooting street, no?
Yeah, it was okay. There's a lot of potholes, a lot of bumps, and one thing I didn't realize, like on a bike, you don't necessarily, your vision can stay straight, but on a scooter, it was all about like your vision just going up and down. So it was a little scary in that sense. Yeah, like you have to constantly like find yourself readjusting. Like you don't have a smooth sight of vision. It was a little bit weird.
Did you hear that Apple's supposed to release Apple Glass?
No, I have not heard about that.
Google Glass, but 5 years later.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I say this only because now I love to think of new technology or business ideas on this podcast in a ridiculous fashion. Anyway, I want to merge this new Apple idea, this new partnership of Apple Glass, I think, with an image stabilizing camera that you can put on your helmet that can smooth out the bumps that you're looking at.
Ooh, that's smart.
So you said your vision's getting a little rocky.
Yeah.
I say we get a 4K camera on the helmet. I say we use electronic image stabilization software to smooth it all out. We shoot it through your Apple glasses,
Makes sense.
And then you have an AR journey over here every time.
Yeah, and actually 2 unintended benefits of that. One, we're gonna have awesome fail videos when people flip. Like, it's gonna be sweet to see someone riding on that thing and just doing like crazy.
God damn it, Arpit!
Yeah.
How did you know about the real way this is gonna be monetized?
2, can you imagine what the Russians would do with that? Like all those
shit.
Russian videos
Yeah.
of them driving and stuff.
Yeah.
It would be so sweet.
No kidding. No, I know that was just from the advent of the dash cam. AR technology is going to be the next level. Really, that it's going to be kind of like the dash cam for people on scooters, for people on motorcycles, maybe.
Yeah.
It's now just like the motorcycle eye
You
in
could
the
always
sky.
pivot from this podcast too if you want to do something different.
I've been trying to pivot from this podcast since day one. Trying to switch to fail videos, win videos, anything I can get my hands on.
You're in the monetization part of your podcast right now, I see.
Oh yeah, joking about products, $49.99 t-shirts, the whole nine. Anything.
Have you reached out to stamps.com yet?
No, I haven't. I'm trying not to go with the stamps thing because I saw the post office was going to struggle this summer.
Smart.
I was like, you know what, look forward. I figured Jeff Bezos is just going to end up buying them anyway. So really, I'm just reaching out to Amazon. Everything I'm going to do is just going to be a product on Amazon or somehow kissing Amazon's butt because they're obviously going to be the overlord at some point.
100%.
That 15 miles an hour on the scooter, that's like the max, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the average you think you were coming?
I think I was probably close to like 10 or 12. I bet that 15 is if you weigh 108 pounds. Like, they probably found the smallest person they could find to ride this thing over and over and be like, yeah, look, it goes 15 miles an hour. Like,
yeah.
But not a grown man.
You're saying, so like when they did the product test for that thing, they got like the youngest kid they can get, like a 10-year-old with like some sort of hormone disorder. So they could like show the reporters like, look, he's flying on this thing. This kid is torching it up.
Yeah, they're like, this kid could go like 100 miles on this thing. Like, it's got great range, but really it probably can only go like 50 miles.
I forgot about that. That's the major thing with electric vehicles.
Yeah, so it's got a range. It says it has a range of like 20 to 30 miles, but I used 20% just getting here, and I did not go anywhere. I did not go very far. Without giving more away.
I was gonna say again, you can say where you're starting, you can say where you're ending. Just don't say both. I mean, just don't make it too difficult.
Just bleep it out. Just throw random bleeps into your podcast.
It's actually very fitting that we're talking about like different travel technology. You scooting over here, especially on something that's the wave of the future, like a Tesla scooter. But but I've actually been talking to your dad all the time. Yeah. About different cars. I need to buy a new car. Yeah. I mentioned this a couple of times.
What's going on with that?
Too much in depth. Well, currently, I think if I had to just give you a make and model and state of mind, I would say Toyota RAV4 exhausted. I've been looking at a little bit of everything. Obviously something like the future. We talked about Priuses, thinking things that now plug in that aren't necessarily Teslas that cost less than $40,000, but you can get plug-in primes now, which are pretty fascinating. Is it going to be a RAV4? Yeah. Plug-in prime, but I just can't wait that long. Right. That would be nice. No, right now I'm just looking at, the most popular crossover SUV in America. Seriously, you're just looking at that most common tiny SUV that everyone who lives a similar lifestyle that I wants. Yeah. A couple bags of mulch, a few bags of groceries, and a few good people. a good time in the wagon. I mean, there's a reason why it's the most popular, though, right? Like, yeah. If it was a piece of crap, no one would buy it, or they'd buy a few of them. But yeah, like it's popular for a reason. It is, and that's what I'm trying to, I think, just resign myself to, or just understand. And not viewing that as a bad thing too. In some ways, you kind of want your car to be different, just out of laziness. Like, oh yeah, that's my orange car right over there. Yeah. So when you're at the stadium or something, I don't know if this is going to apply in the future. If you're at some sort of crowded event, you can easily get out of there. And I've always had that in my life because my family just had old enough cars. Yeah. Like we just had cars that were so fucking old that you could spot them from far away. Oh, 100%. It's wild, yeah. So that was kind of the same thing as having an orange car. But you grew up, you had Toyotas. You had the car I'm kind of pursuing now. That's one of the reasons I'm talking to your dad. He's kind of been helping me out with everything. Yeah, it's funny you bring that up too, because talking to my wife the other day, just talking in the future about like cars and stuff. We went down to one car because we don't need to right now. We don't have kids and we live in the city. And smart. Coronavirus, you could tell that was coming, right? Yeah, exactly. We thought, let's just get rid of it before that happens. The market's hot right now. You sold your second car and bought Tesla stock.
Yeah.
That's what happened, right?
100%. We just bought all the pharmaceuticals we could right now.
And by 100%, you meant 100% markup on that Tesla stock, right? Like it had just gone up 100% when you purchased it.
Oh, we just bought options. Actually, that's the way to do it. We're not even buying stock at this point.
Dude,
We're just letting it ride.
I'm so glad to have you on because I've been like financially obsessed lately, and I keep trying to get Matt to talk about like mutual funds and stuff, and he's just not having. It's just my own obsession. It's not about Matt necessarily.
No, dude, this is my roundhouse. I mean, Matt can have like watching stuff with Adam Carolla. I'm blanking on the radio show name, but like
Loveline.
Loveline. That's all Matt. That's his arena. I'm not going to touch that.
We all have different avenues. No, but actually, you are perfect to talk about financial and monetary measures. I mean, you're an accountant. Do you mind talking about that, or kind of staking a claim to your greatness?
Yeah, I guess.
In the accounting field.
I'm an accounting manager. I like numbers, Excel. We have some financial investments, but mostly pretty conservative when it comes to finance. For the most part, pretty conservative.
You've always had such a strong mind just for remembering numbers, though.
Yeah.
For quantitative information, because I think for a lot of people, that's their main bane, is just that they have to keep track of those zeros.
Yeah.
You know, just horrifying to someone who only wants to, I think, think in terms of poetry or something. I don't know. If you're looking at the classic left brain versus right brain.
Mm-hmm. I have definitely found, and this is just my own personal theory, people that have really good memories tend to be very successful. And I've noticed that in leaders and stuff. They just remember everything, and they're just like, oh, this happened 6 years ago, and I remember this, and this is why we should do X. And you're like, how do you remember that?
Right.
It's insane.
Do you think it's one of those things where like half the people that are successful have great memories, and it's a major factor for why they're successful? They're using it sort of like a tool belt for their journey, and maybe the other half of people are so good at some micro thing that they don't even need to keep track of the past. Maybe they're an athlete that in the moment is so good.
Yeah.
Or maybe a politician that's so good on the cuff that they just really don't need to memorize stats, and statistics.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I
don't think Trump has a really good memory. I mean, maybe he does. He has to be honest, when you lie a lot, you have to keep track of a lot of shit.
It's true. I mean, he doesn't even keep track of it anymore. There's a Trump tweet for everything nowadays. Like, you go back and look up his historical tweets, and that comes and bites him. No, I think you pretty much nailed it. I think that I do have some confirmation bias in that, right? Like, there are definitely the people that I see that are successful tend to have that great memory, but there's probably people with great memories that are also doing other things. And you made an interesting point too about athletes. Like, you have to have a pretty short memory as an athlete.
Right. I think there are certain things actually you'd benefit from forgetting history.
Yeah.
Where it's very in the moment. Where sports psychology would come in at a much higher level than someone I think who's trying to look at financial performance. And specifically, you're also an accountant, which is looking backward, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that has to self-select people for greatness based on memory.
Yeah, that's very true. I never thought about it like that.
It has to some way.
Yeah.
In some way, because it's definitely at least requisite for your job. In the people that you meet, actually, not necessarily your current company or just, I guess, all the places you've worked, maybe your specific field, if you're interested answering from that perspective.
Sure.
What percentage of people you think had the memory thing? You have it, and you're successful in your field.
Yeah.
Do you think it's like a 75% thing maybe for accountants, like it's higher even than the average?
I think the ones, I would say at least half accountant, 50%, because it's a lot of memorizing rules. Like, if it's like being a lawyer, basically, in the sense that, like, you have to memorize, like, how do you do this? How do you do that? Like, you have to have some working knowledge of it. I would say about half, because I think that you also need that skill to just be able to look it up. Like, if you don't know where it is, you can just people that can Google for themselves tend to do pretty well too. I think, like, find answers for themselves. It doesn't necessarily have to be Google.
Sure. Okay, so we're bringing up a couple things then.
Yeah.
Because it's also sort of perseverance in a way. I'm always just trying to. I feel like I always hear perseverance is the number one success habit. So I'm always trying to translate whatever I hear into it equaling perseverance.
Of course.
And then willing to Google something, even on a hot, beautiful Memorial Day like this, to educate yourself would be a good idea.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
I'm going to need to get some sort of graphic under you with the fingers especially.
I know you
like
can handle
on one
that.
side, subscribe on the other. Yeah, the only thing that's been hard about these podcasts is that they're an hour long, and I've learned that when you're like scrubbing through an hour of video, you are not looking at every scene. And if there's like a moment you're trying to find, it can actually be pretty hard. Unless maybe you have like a 30-inch wide monitor and your scrubber is like 1 inch for every 10 minutes of video or something.
I have definitely just skipped around sometimes when I see a new one come out.
That's how it's meant. Yeah.
And it is kind of crazy. You're like, how are you guys talking about this right now. Like you had one with Rob where you guys were talking about bidets. Like what? How did this transition to bidets?
I don't know. Ass water's come up again since then, so Rob might have to take the credit for that. You know, at a certain point, you have to look at the common denominator amongst all these things. No, I know that does happen though. Like how you jump from one thing to the other.
Yeah, which I'm about to do right now. I wanted to get your thoughts on The Last Dance.
Nice. That's great, actually, because for the 23rd podcast, I wore a Jordan jersey. Jordan jersey.
Oh, nice.
I did, yeah, but we didn't talk about it at all. I mentioned a joke. Rob made a Michael Jordan signature joke that I remember just from editing. But I liked it. I think I have one episode left.
Okay. The final.
Yeah, they beat the Jazz.
Yeah.
You hate Michael Jordan at this point. You're tired of the Bulls.
Yeah.
And I just have to finish the saga. I loved it. I loved the whole thing. I mean, growing up, you know, we're Chicago kids that love seeing the Bulls do well. Obviously, you know, you want the person you're rooting for, MJ, to take over the world, which he undoubtedly did time and time again for us in the 90s.
Yeah.
You're totally done?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're my resident Bulls expert to begin with. So, you're probably 10 steps ahead of me.
Yeah, no, we...
in terms of how I look at this dynasty.
No, it was incredible to watch. And one cool thing, especially in this COVID world now, is it was cool to watch them when they were coming on live because it felt like sports again. Like there's so many people live reacting to it and just watching it. And you didn't know what was going to happen next, which was just so cool.
It is, and it's comical because... I mean, we were group texting about this, and you and Rob were saying, we need to rewatch this. And I was like, Last Dance was the rewatch.
Yeah.
We're already rewatching this.
You had me in stitches on that one. I told my wife that right away.
But I do I do agree with the feeling, though, to want to experience that moment again. And honestly, more than other television programs that have come out, you know, new releases on Netflix, anything that may seem exciting, this Last Dance thing has felt more sports-like because Shavana and I have actually been rushing to watch the episodes. Yeah. Because we mentioned the text, you're texting about it, it's a thing. We want to feel like that communal element of sports, which is the most important thing of sports.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's amazing that they just so happen to have this production in play so that we had a little lifeline during the whole corona epidemic. Yeah, and it became so huge. It was on the news the next morning. People were breaking down episodes and talking about it. Famous players were coming back and talking about it. Every 30-minute news broadcast though has 2.5 minutes of sports though, right? Yeah, Mark Giangreco at ABC 7 was probably dying oh, thank God there's something we could talk about. Oh, 100%. By the way, Matt told me off podcast the other day that one of the reasons Jordan wanted to do that thing was because LeBron is getting too good, or that his legend has gotten so high that Jordan is getting competitive with LeBron's legend. And he's using this as a way to go on the offensive about how great he is. That's interesting. I had not heard that before. I'll talk the Bulls conspiracy theories with Matt to see if he wants to go. If he has a John Paxton sacrifice doll that he has or something at home for the GM. Oh yeah, I'm actually back on it's crazy all this stuff happened because they did fire John Paxton, and for a long time I had a Bulls boycott. I wouldn't watch a game. I didn't go to a game, and I love sports and I love basketball. And so they finally did move him out of the front office. When was that? This year, in March, right around COVID started. They suspended the season, and the Bulls just said, hey, I did not know about that. Yeah. So, that's why I just brought up John Paxton. I thought he was still there. No. I saw him in the documentary. I haven't checked recently. Yeah. I haven't checked lately. So, yeah, he's gone. And so now it's nice to, finally feel like... Tell me, in March? Yeah. When did The Last Dance air? April. Or May. They wanted to do... Did they can him right before that? Yeah. So what's up with that? I think they didn't want the bad... I think because they're going to show the glory years... People were going to love him again, and then they couldn't fire him after that. I think it was part look how good the Bulls were in the 90s, and look how terrible they've been since. And the guy running the show is this guy, John Paxson. So, why don't we do it before so people forget about that part and just, remember, how good it was. The Bulls are look, if we want to clutch outside three in the 90s, we'll give John a call again, okay? But for now, we're looking to put a team together for the 2020s. So he does have that Lex Luthor look, though, you know? Maybe that people couldn't handle it. He looked too much like a villain. People are I don't know. Nah, I don't trust this guy. I don't trust this guy. I definitely felt he seemed like a cool dude in the documentary.
Yeah, 100%.
He was a little uptight. You could tell he was kind of like the
toe the company line.
He was towing the company line. He was
Heck
in the company office or whatever.
Yeah, the Bulls logo on
it's like,
too.
Jesus Christ, I'm surprised this guy's not wearing the bottom half of the Benny the Bull costume and doing his interview.
He probably had Benny with a gun just like on the other side of the camera. Like, don't you say it. Don't you say it.
Or Benny's loved ones. You know, cut a little piece of Benny's hair. He's got that like orange hair. I don't even know if Benny has orange hair.
Just like in a little felt box that he gets in the mail. Like,
exactly.
Be cool, man.
No, it's got to be tortured like that. I kind of wanted to see more from elements of The Last Dance. Like, some of the characters I think were blown up too much. I think they shouldn't have given Jordan the director's cut.
Yeah.
I don't want to just go on complaining about that. Everyone's already done that. Jordan got to look at the footage and laugh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In between each shot. That's not a documentary.
The memes that have come out are incredible.
It's almost like it was designed for those screenshots, man. Like, honestly, each new production, they need to get like a Gen Zer in there. Just be like, all right, pick a couple screen grabs you want us to incorporate. Okay, we'll do moving video. We can do GIFs if you want to do. Just tell us how this is going to be viral.
I wonder, do you ever think about how memes, this might be getting too deep, but like, do you ever wonder how memes just get started? Like, someone saw that Jordan iPad clip that's like a huge meme now where like he's looking at the iPad and laughing.
Exactly that one.
And then there's someone out there that made the first meme of that. Like, do you think they're watching it to make a meme, or do you think they were watching it? Yeah, like they're just solely watching and they're like, what can I meme from this?
So exactly that. No, but if I had to answer specifically with Jordan too, we have to think back on meme precedent, which I'm getting a master's in, by the way, from George Washington State University. No, but
GWSU.
Jordan had that crying meme that was really hot. So he's been like, he's a meme legend already. Obviously, he's already been like a figure. A lot of guys have like the Jordan on their wall, him dunking, whatever. Mm-hmm. Actually, in the jam journals and stuff, you can see in the background on the shelf, I have an old Jordan like playing card.
Oh,
nice. Like behind Austin when he's ripping it up. Jordan just happened to have gotten recently popular
that's funny.
again. But obviously, he's always carried a heavy hammer in Chicago.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it does. It just sort of depends over time, Jordan.
Yeah, just like how it is amazing how creative you can be. And someone came up with that first meme, and now it's blown up. Even the Jordan crying meme, like someone made that, and it's just blown up. We'll never know who made it. Like, there's no credit to one person, but someone out there can say like, I created the Jordan crying meme.
Would you be more comfortable giving credit to California-based influencers or Russia-based agents of misinformation?
I'm gonna just go with Banksy on this one. Actually,
nice. Hell yeah! Correct answer. Correct answer. It was Banksy. Anytime Russia comes out, the correct answer is Banksy. No, I like The Last Dance. I mentioned I have one episode left. I think probably one of the reasons I'm saving it too is just because, I don't want it to go away.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of hard to get me into sports things.
Yeah.
Nostalgia plays are useful for that.
Yeah, of course.
I used to be a Packers fan, which is ridiculous. I still am.
Yeah.
I'm from Chicago, but I grew up going to Wisconsin. But I tell you, if ESPN released a documentary on Favre, or him throwing touchdowns to Antonio Freeman, or even Favre taking dick pics, about 10, 15 years ago.
That's how you got to end it, right?
I want to see what happened there. There are certain sports things that I'd be interested in seeing.
Yeah.
What do you think should be the next Last Dance? If they could do any sports project. I know there are a couple characters that came up in The Last Dance I'm sure you'd love to see.
Yeah.
I'll wait to say them. But
So we actually watched the 30 for 30 on Dennis Rodman. So my wife grew up in Canada and never watched any of the bowl stuff. So this was her first taste in the 90s bowls. And she watched that, and we were so hooked on all these different characters. I didn't know a lot of the background stories. And it was like a Saturday night a few weeks ago, and ESPN just happened to be playing a 30 for 30 on Dennis Rodman, and just watched his whole story, and you're like, his story is just crazy.
What is the 30 for 30 on Rodman?
Is it
mainly like personal and like Carmen Electra, or is it?
No, it's like his whole life. So he was homeless for a couple years, and he grew when he was 19 or 21.
True documentary before he played. Okay, cool.
And when he got to college, he was friends with an 11-year-old, and he just wanted to be a giant child. And when he went to the Pistons, he didn't drink. He didn't drink his first couple years. And then how it just kind of became what it became, and supposedly a suicide attempt that he denies, but it sounds like there was one. And then his time after with Kim Jong-un, and like footage of that, like him at like
they went that far.
Yeah.
Okay, they showed the new era, because that's what I'm totally missing. I think
it's crazy.
what you really need to see the connection toward.
Mm-hmm.
It's very confusing. Yeah, in The Last Dance, they said Madonna was the one that made Rodman, or helped him realize that he can live this, rich, free life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That Madonna was living.
And it seemed like he just had such a traumatic childhood, and he was always he wasn't ever himself. And then he grew up, but he grew up later in life in that, like, he was a kid when he was 20 because he never got a childhood. And then he was doing what we would probably do in our 20s when he was like 30 in the spotlight. And
exactly.
We were dating our Carmen Electras at that time,
naturally. No, but he obviously just, needed to live out some things.
Yeah.
He never got, especially someone who has so many eyeballs on him too.
Oh yeah. Can you imagine? And all the Jordan stories too, like he just never got to live a life. Like he just had people around him all the time. Just insane.
It is. I didn't realize how bad Jordan was aching for his dad after he died. And
yeah.
The security guard kind of stepped in, that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff from the past really stays with you. The Rodman thing, Jordan stuff stayed with him.
Yeah, and Jordan's got, just the way he held on to, like, if you didn't say hi to him at dinner or you gave him a high five or said good game, like,
right.
There's something that's like some trauma or something.
Okay, that's all I needed.
Yeah.
That's all I needed. That's all I remember him saying overnight. Okay, that's all I needed.
That's all I needed. You're not going to say hi to me at dinner? That's all I needed.
I love that guy. It's really fantastic to see the pettiness this many years later.
Oh, it's
too.
Incredible.
Or just to see like where it's seated in his soul this many years later.
Yeah.
I don't even judge him, call him petty or whatever. I mean, his tool that he's been given, that ultra competitiveness, has been a gift for a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
I can't sit here watching him and laughing, enjoying myself, high-fiving friends for 20 years, watching Jordan play, and then make fun of the guy totally.
Yeah. No, he was a legend. He is a legend.
And even he kind of was sensitive to guys like Rodman,
mm-hmm.
these like funky characters that had their own issues and kind of needed support from lovable people, or loving people, rather.
Yeah, and I loved his quote of when he was like, I never asked him to do something I wouldn't do.
That was it. That's the main thing. It's because he's not necessarily a hypocrite.
Right.
It's just he's not understanding what his building blocks were.
Right.
He doesn't get how high up he started.
Yeah, agreed.
And obviously how high he can keep soaring.
Yeah.
Above that. Other sports figures, if you had to do like a Last Dance, maybe picking like a different league, like a football team from a certain era, if you'd love to see that kind of attention, treatment.
Yeah.
Maybe individual personality.
That was a good question. So I'm a little biased because I heard there's a Tom Brady one coming out next year. He's not even retired yet, and they're making another one. I know. It's like they're trying to cash in, I think, because of how popular this one was. That one would be cool.
Surprised it took this long.
Yeah, I know.
And isn't everyone's move now to go to like Netflix and just do a documentary? Meghan Markle and Harry are doing that. The Obamas are doing that.
Are they really?
Yeah. The Obamas have like a production company now.
Yeah, that's true.
That they brought to Netflix, and they're gonna do Becoming is gonna be a series.
Oh yeah,
or something.
It's already out there. It's already on Netflix. Yeah.
Didn't take long, yeah. No, they signed the deal. Obviously they were working on it, and this is kind of what we're talking about, is people are kind of planting these seeds for a long time. Look what I'm doing. Look what we're doing.
Yeah,
we're out here recording. This stuff is now available to everyone.
So let me ask you this question: Do you see that like that has a lot of value? Like you get to, there's one hand like Netflix is making all these documentaries and maybe they're losing a little bit of meaning, but on the other hand, you get to see more of people's lives that are figures. Like you get to see Meghan and Harry and the Obamas, and
I'm not against it. Yeah, and that's the reason I'm making this stuff too, is because I understand it's take it or leave it. Obviously there are certain costs associated with the servers that host this online. So I'm not ignorant to the literal cost of what's happening. But no, people are not being forced to watch either my or Barack's programming or Michelle's programming. Really, that's the beautiful thing about digital film like this. It's like you're not even burning resources creating film. The SD card can be continually replenished.
Right.
And people for a long time, are gonna not look at something, not care about something maybe that Barack and Michelle produced this year, and then they might want to watch it 25 years from now, and it might be very, very important to them a quarter century from now.
Of course. And I think it's cool too from like if there's ever kids or there's future generations, and like for you or for me or for anybody, Matt, Rob, it'll be cool to look back at stuff like this and be able to say like, hey, look at these pictures, like look at this video, this is how we talked back then, this is what we were talking about then.
Oh, 100%. I've always had a strong itch for that. Like, I would love to show this to my kids. I would love to share this in the future.
Right.
I also just have done it for myself.
Right.
Like, it's definitely partly been a selfish thing. Be like, I just want to know. And also, I've tried to find ways in which it's not selfish too. Just be like, I want to put myself on film and see 2 years later if I agree with what I'm saying.
Yeah, agreed.
You know, a lot of people don't have that analysis luxury. You know, the fact that I am taking the time to do all this, and then assuming, you know, have the leisure time 2 years down from now to look back and actually see what I'm acting like exactly.
No, it's cool. It's cool to look back that way. One thing, my parents grew up in India, like, and when we go to India, I see some pictures, but I have no, like, there are no pictures from my parents' childhood. I have gone to their neighborhood homes and, like, been in the neighborhoods, but I have no idea, like, what they even look like as like children. Like, maybe there's a picture or two because they grew up in the 50s.
Right.
And so from that standpoint, I'm like, I asked them all these questions. Like Master of None does a whole episode about this where they like Aziz and
right.
I think Alan Yang, I can't remember his name. They both like go and ask their parents, like, what was your childhood like? So I've done that, but for future generations, if there are kids, I want them to be able to see things like this and be like, oh, that was cool, you guys did that, or what was that like, and have them appreciate it, and hopefully do the same for them too.
Absolutely. I mean, they will be able to. I mean, me alone, I have good footage for your children. Dude. I'm sure I could share.
For those of you that don't know, James is our official documenter for the group, the Fab Four, me, Rob, Jess, and shout out to Joey too. You must have hundreds, if not thousands, of photos of each of us.
Lots. I can't even. It used to be a little easier to tell how well I had everyone pinned down, because they used to, when they first brought in the facial recognition technology and like iPhoto or photos, it's like you can group pretty easily how many hundreds of photos do I have of Arpit, thousands of photos. But so that technology has changed, and I haven't like really utilized it as much. So I need to do some new count numbers. But I could safely say I could pin you down probably at least one a year for the duration. You know, because that's the real goal too. It's not really about having, I think, hundreds or thousands of photos at the end of the day. Yeah. But for everyone I love, I'll tell you, I really want a photo of them for the whole ride.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
I know. It's just so cool.
Just to make you laugh. You know, I've already done this in our friendship, shared photos from the past,
great.
and we can laugh about it.
Yeah.
And I'll be sending them 10 years from now. And
I mean, they're great to look back at and just see how much we changed, or how different things are, what were our priorities then and now. And yeah, it is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to look at that stuff.
Speaking of look back at priorities then and now, we are in this Corona thing.
Yeah.
Have you like reevaluated kind of like how you want your life to be? Do you feel like you've taken any big steps maybe for how you want the future to look now? That you've seen how things aren't exactly according to plan?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. I was having this conversation with my wife yesterday, actually, on our way home. I think we want to be more sustainable, or try to be more sustainable, and really take care of the planet. Like, make sure that we're recycling and riding our bikes or scooters, and not necessarily relying on cars, and doing whatever we can to be more sustainable. We're both vegetarians, but even talking about our dairy consumption, is that something we could reduce? Like, is that an industry we want to support? And some of it, we're like, I like cheese, she likes cheese, and I think in moderation, but like, how do we make sure we leave this planet in good shape for future generations? Like,
That's beautiful, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's been one thing. COVID's been kind of eye-opening. The other thing that's been kind of different, and it's going to sound a little weird, but with when you're with someone, like you're with Shavana and I'm with Sam, like, you spend so much time with them. I think it's kind of beautiful in how much your relationship kind of strengthens and grows, because now Sam and I both had busy lives. We'd work till 5 or 6 p.m. and then come home and maybe have a couple hours and go to bed, and then do it all over again. And then the weekends we would try to cram everything in. But now we're getting all these little short moments together.
Yeah.
We're playing board games again. We're watching shows together. Like, we're cooking and eating together. So it's been riding bikes together. Like, it's just been different. It's been kind of cool that we're getting to spend this like rich and fulfilling time together, not feel rushed, still be able to do our work during the day.
Absolutely, because it's a lot of times not just about what you're able to do, it's like kind of how you do it. So maybe over the years you and Sam will have gotten these puzzles together, these moments. Yeah. But it's the sequence, how you get them, right? And it's the mood you're in when you get that moment. Yeah. Because a lot of times, you can be ambitious in your professional life or something, and then by the time you get to the people that you really have an emotional connection with, or that you want to love, your gas tank is a little empty at that point. You put in your 40 that week. Yeah. Or just maybe you've had to just go out and people in different countries, different situations. You have to go collect water for your family. I mean, they're very, very understandable real-world considerations for why you would be kind of stretched thin and why you might not have everything to give to the person that you want to give the most to.
Yeah.
Right? But it is really lucky when that math works out correctly.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned Siobhan. I've been loving spending time with her too.
Oh,
you know,
it's great.
And it's such a relief to have been through this period and seen that things have been fantastic.
Yeah.
That we've been wildly successful together, and that it's just been very enjoyable to spend time. As opposed to, I'm I could assume is the opposite reaction, and that I see late night hosts joking about, you know, with divorce rates going up in other post-lockdown countries and whatnot. Like, it's probably got to go one of those two ways,
Sure.
right? Like, you either are cashing in on your compound interest from the good relationship you set up over the years, or you're probably looking in the mirror right now.
Yeah.
You're probably really wondering what you set yourself up for exactly.
Yeah, and I think you could make an argument too about the divorce rates being not necessarily a bad thing, because it's forcing people to realize, like, hey, maybe this person isn't who I need to be with, and I want to live this happy life, and maybe that person's out there, and it's freeing for that person too.
100%.
But there's also probably that stretch where one person is like that and the other person's heartbroken. So I could see it both ways.
It is not easy. No, and going to economics quickly, like some similar phenomenon, but obviously different scale. I believe in the future, as we see this wave of defaults and these bankruptcies, I think that's going to ultimately be a good thing for the economy too.
Yeah.
Even though it's painful in the short term for people to lose their positions, to have maybe small amounts in their savings, emergency accounts, and very little focus as to where they're going to be going moving forward if their industry has contracted greatly. But, what is it? Capitalism without failure is like Catholicism without hell, or whatever the expression is. It's like you need to have some of these companies fail. The risk needs to be baked in, and not baked in. The risk needs to be accounted for, and it can't just be all perfect all the time.
Agreed.
And you can't have a life where people don't get their feelings hurt.
Right. Agreed.
Relationships hurts the bankruptcy. The rental car company.
It's funny you mentioned that too, because I just saw an article that Americans are saving as the most that they've saved since like the 1980s, and that was when like interest rates were like 8 or 10% at that point, like on your savings. Could you imagine getting 8% in a savings account?
It's bullshit. The first certificate of deposit account I opened, I got over 5%.
Are you serious?
Makes me feel like a fucking dinosaur.
Oh my God.
An absolute dinosaur. I think it was 2007. I think it was right before the financial crisis. And the rates were still good, but it was a 1-year CD, and it was 5 point something.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I can imagine it, but no, it's hard to believe. Actually, my grandpa told me when he first retired, what he did was take a lump sum and then go invest it. Go get a 10% in the bank, because it was like the 1980s is around that time. He got 10% on some money, and then obviously went and invested other places.
I mean, that's smart. Like, we opened up beginning of the year, we had a little bit of extra cash. We're like, okay, let's do something with it. And I was like, okay, we have enough money, and we have money in the stock market. Our 401ks are in the stock market. Yeah. We own this property. Like, we don't need to, with the amount that we have, like, we really can't do too much. We can't buy another property. Like, it's not that much. Or like, we could put more in the market, but then it's like way too heavy. So we ended up, my wife convinced me, like, let's get a CD at 2%. And I was like, 2%. Like,
now it's nice, right?
Yeah. I was like, at the time, I'm like, I just feel like we can make more in the market. Like, this is just 2%. This is like
to be honest, you're right.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
On average, long term. Right?
Long term for a year, short term.
But it was pretty wild at that point. We're talking, that was the 10-year top of the bull market, pre-corona.
Right.
So this is a whole nother mindset.
Yeah. You always think like, okay, what comes up must come down at some point. So we're like, okay, it's got to come down. Fine, we'll do 2%. And now we're looking at that like, dang, we're getting 2% on that? That's like,
dude, that's crazy.
That's a lot.
It's going to be now for a while now too. That's going to be like a high percentage.
Yeah.
And I think because everything's so juiced, it's going to stay funky for a long period. Obviously, the zombie companies have to sort of drop dead at some point.
Yeah.
That takes a long time. It sounds like all the airlines are going to start laying people off until they have to, until October or whenever that Paycheck Protection Program date is up. They're going to fire everyone, and then we're going to have to go down the tubes again.
Yep.
At least in terms of perception and everyone's comfort level. Let's get back to the partner thing and sustainability.
Sure.
Because I'm just a freak who wants to go back to the markets or economics again. What does it all mean? I also worked for 4 years in workforce development and people getting jobs, so I'm kind of obsessed with the fact that I worked for 4 years on something that went away in a month.
Well,
that like all the performance, all the job gains from the Great Recession went away in 5 weeks.
I was going to say, isn't it crazy you left and then a month later there's 22 million people filing for unemployment?
Yeah, it's insane.
More now, I think. But
it's absolutely insane. I'd spent 4 years in workforce development, which is like employment preparation and placement, helping individuals get a job, usually at the lower end of the income scale. I went 4 years doing that. I finished March 6th was my last day, and the MBA was canceled March 12th.
Yeah,
so 6 days later, by the full 1 week later, that next Friday, my girlfriend is like, I'm working from home indefinitely now, and like the world had changed.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
It's insane. I mean, I know you want to get back to the spouses, but one more story real quick was, the company I work for, they were a little resistant to working from home. It's been, we do a lot of surveys and things like that, and it would show up and they were just kind of like, there's not a one size fits all. You have to talk to your manager, and they were just a little bit hesitant. They really believe like you got to be in and talk to each other and make it work.
Yeah.
Well then, March 13th, everyone got sent home to work from home. And I think their viewpoint's slowly starting to change.
That same day.
Yeah.
Or 1 week later.
Yeah. The day after the NBA got canceled, that Friday.
Yeah.
Their viewpoint completely changed, and now I think they're starting to realize like, hey, maybe there is some sort of mix of working from home and being able to go to the office.
Okay, so it sounds like your company got a similar signal at the same time that like the world got the signal, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it was the NBA, which we've been saying, or do you think it was Tom Hanks? Because I think he also got COVID that same night.
It was
that Thursday night.
that was the
what was more
craziest
upsetting
night.
to you personally, Tom Hanks or the NBA being canceled?
At that point, Tom Hanks for sure.
Because it's personal.
Yeah.
It's on the individual level.
Yeah. Right. And it's Tom Hanks. Like of all the people, like the NBA is the NBA, and I watch it, but I don't really feel a connection. Whereas with Tom Hanks, I mean, the man was Forrest Gump. Like I have this connection with him.
Connection. I mean, the first thing I went to is Money Can't Save You.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
Which was sort of obvious to begin with, or at least at the beginning. At the beginning, some people were, I don't know, making jokes or being crude, saying it was like a rich person's disease.
Yeah.
Because you had to like travel to get it.
Yeah.
Or you had to be like on these international flights or whatever. Obviously, you've seen how that's played out. It's horribly untrue, and obviously it does matter what your healthcare outcomes would be based on what insurance you had, whatever. Mr. Hanks seems to have recovered fine. I think he's probably been to 2 movie premieres virtually since then. He hosted Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, he did.
Like a week after he had COVID or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I think it was that, and then the mounting pressure they started to feel. I think from employees, we had people taking public transportation that were like, what do we do? And they were trying to find solutions. They're like, what if we just they were really like, we don't know if nobody knew how bad it was going to be. So they're like, what if we just let employees work from home, or they can rent a car and we'll pay for it, and let them bring a rental car to work if they don't want to take public transportation. So they were looking out for the best, but they were also like, we just don't know how bad it's going to be to start. And I think mounting pressure of like,
it sounds like they had the right amount of humility.
Yeah.
That they were trying to be considerate of the situation enough.
Yeah. But it's definitely crazy to think about like how quickly it changed.
It was very quick. Sustainability, relationships, the things that matter. Obviously, we're mentioning relationships with the women we love, but there's also like your relationship with the planet.
Yeah.
I have been talking to Shivana about this a lot too recently. One of the things is we just need to like put our compost barrel together. I mean, the podcast will prove I've been working on the garden slowly, but
it's looking good.
Trim this here and there, move this
great.
there. Got to do a lot of planting, mulching, what have you, but environmental stuff, it's tough. It takes time.
Yeah.
If you're talking about cutting back on something you love like cheese versus taking extra effort to mulch or to compost or something of the sort. Do you have a goal for what's going to be that next step for you and Sam?
No actual goal, but I think just making small steps to just be like, what are we doing here? Like, can we find a more sustainable thing? So she's been really great about it. You're
doing so many of the things. No, I'm serious. You actually, I'm one of the reasons I'm asking you is because I feel like you should be running out of things you can do.
Oh,
you went from 2 cars to 1 car. Like you said, you're a vegetarian.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think you have to look at your housing. You're not living in like a castle, where people like heat and cool 8,000 square foot just for themselves or wherever the fuck. Like your carbon footprint in that way.
Sure.
I think you're kicking ass. So
sure.
part of me is like, what else can you do? I mean, seriously.
Well, she's been incredible. Like when she gets on board with something, she goes pretty hard. So she bought beeswax cling wrap so you can reuse it. So you don't use cling wrap anymore. We're using like this sustainable.
We have that too. Yeah, we got it too.
It's cool.
It's
really
cool.
And she's bought like Ziploc bags that are washable, so you can reuse those. we're doing small steps like that, and then honestly, like putting our money where our mouth is. So we bought some, like, going back to finances a little bit, we bought some Beyond Meat stock.
Please do. Now we're talking.
So
Beyond too.
We were like, okay, so
one of the hot ones.
Yeah. Oh, dude. I gave her such a hard time about that. I was like, this is overvalued. Like,
I know.
Oh my God, it still is overvalued. Like, there's no.
I was gonna say too. I don't blame you for giving her a hard time, but man, you've probably gotten hell because it's gone up and up and up.
It's up 90. Our initial investment's up 90% in a matter of a month.
That's not gonna help next time you tell her. I don't think we should buy that stock.
Oh,
she's gonna
100%.
be like, just like we shouldn't have bought that 90% gainer.
Or that 2% CD. So,
hey, by the way, is your wife available for financial planning work?
Dude,
could I hire her? Or?
I've literally been like, all right, what's next? Like, what do you want to do? Like, what are we going after? She's like, I don't have a cause right now, so when I do.
You're just like waiting for the muse to visit you. You know what I mean? You like leave $100 bill here and there. So he's like, what do you think we should use that for, Sam?
Yeah,
what's that?
What's your heart telling you? But yeah, putting our money where our mouth is. We did a little research. Obviously, you could buy like a Beyond Meat, which I think is still overvalued, but it's hard to argue with the results so far. And they make a hell of a product. Like, we had Beyond Burgers Saturday for lunch.
Nice.
Started doing a little Wikipedia on them.
Memorial Day weekend.
I mean,
Come
you got
on,
it.
they better be boosting this weekend. They should be.
They were so good. And like, looking at them from Wikipedia, it said it uses 99% less water than the same amount of ground beef.
Really?
Yeah, that you would need. So like, that blew my mind.
That's huge.
I knew there was some discrepancy. You got to feed the cow. Cow uses energy like by the end product. But I did not realize, like, from a water standpoint too, it was like 99% less water than an equivalent of ground.
That is huge. I know the water consumption is also extremely different even amongst proteins.
Yeah.
Like the cow to chicken consumption
I
level,
believe it.
very different. So I can see that playing in. I would love to see what their consumption is versus the lowest amount of protein.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
And that's going to seem less impressive.
Sure.
But because of how I'm thinking about it, I feel like that would impress me more.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. If you're saying like I can get at least a 25% reduction or 80, 100% reduction on water, even from chicken, from something I think I eat a little bit more commonly and view to be more my everyday type protein.
Yeah.
I'd be amazed by that. But no, it's still great that they're on their way. And I think voting
incredible.
with your dollars is huge.
Yeah, it's huge. Like, it is incredible too, because there are now funds that they call them like sustainable funds, and their company, it's a electronically traded fund. So like the computer manages like how many shares of whatever it has, of all the different companies it buys. And there are a lot of them that like, we're only going to invest in companies that are like going sustainable or are sustainable.
Right.
Some of them are kind of bullshit, if you ask me, because then you look at their holdings and then it's like Johnson & Johnson and you're like, are they really that sustainable? Or are they just saying that they're sustainable? Like, where's that line of like truly sustainable, or just companies saying like, hey, we're going to be sustainable?
Well, correct. In a way, you can look at maybe the Dow 30, Johnson & Johnson, being the most sustainable in terms of consumer demand.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they're kind of sustaining the needs of the largest customer base in the fucking world. Environmental sustainability is obviously what we're discussing, not necessarily financial. But that is actually, in a lot of industries, extremely counter to the profit motive. To
100%.
To produce or consume, you have to churn.
Right.
You have to go through things.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm interested in economic opportunities where you don't have to do as much of that. When I just need a little bit of maybe electricity for my gadgets here. I mentioned the SD cards that are renewable, right? But I don't know. The two things, it's fucked up because they run counter. Don't they? You have to get the smokestack going, or you have to move the car someplace. Personally, I want to tie it to person. I know we're getting very close to the end here, so I'll make sure I get this.
Oh my God, is it really?
I think so.
This is flying.
Not very close. Yeah, I just my skin is melting in the sun.
Yeah,
that's how I can tell. When my left arm gets stuck to the seat here, that's how I can tell what's happening. What were we talking about? The economics of
sustainability,
the sustainability of these companies.
The smokestack, like you need to use electricity.
I personally have used way less energy. I've used way less gasoline.
Yeah.
I've spent less money. I've saved more money. Although I was planning on doing that anyway.
Right.
I had planned to quit my job and to live a different kind of life while I was able to build up, fix my house up, work on literally trying to make my community better, my own personal life, sort of building up my base. So I definitely been like one of those people saving, not spending as much,
Makes
thinking
sense.
more about finances and
Yeah, of course.
responsible purchases.
Yeah, it's like this COVID was kind of a shock. Like you realize like, hey, we really got to have a plan here. Like anyone's job, like 22 million people lost their job in a month. Like it's just, you need to, it's so hard though. Like we're fortunate to like be able to have income to be able to live our lives the way we do. But for those that are like losing their jobs, like planning, it's so easy to hear people that are like, well, they should have planned for it, but like you can't, it's impossible, right? Like
it's really impossible. No.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering too if just our old system is now going to seem antiquated.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of the job losses they're saying, it could be over 40% of those that are permanent, which is horrific. And you hope that's not the case. But you'd have to wonder like how many people now are just going to have a couple gig jobs all the time, or they're just going to be taking jobs on their phone, kind of like the next level of the contract-based employment.
Yeah.
I don't, if those 40% of people aren't going back, I think they're going to have to do something. I think there's going to be work to be done. There's still holes to be dug and people to be driven around for the future.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's wild. I mean, it's just like just crazy to think about.
I think we just need to rebuild how people are going to make it fly, working 3 micro jobs.
Right.
Like I mentioned the workforce development piece. Like I don't necessarily know if I should just go back and then start recruiting for these big common industries, or if I should try to think about, how we could take some ideas from the past and sort of put them toward the world of the future. Because obviously it doesn't seem to be exactly going backwards.
Yeah. I think another big thing we could do as a generation is just vote for people that are going to help rebuild the system and not just put profits above everything else, and think about the earth and just the lowest level people that need income. Like we need to help them. And I don't know if politicians, without going too much on a soapbox, like I don't know how much politicians really are going to help. Like we got to vote for the people that are going to say like, hey, we will make sure that we will find you something in this gig economy.
The monetary policy has been way stronger than the fiscal policy.
Yeah.
The way that they're willing to buy those corporate junk bonds, at seemingly unlimited rate, and then we had to fucking beg to get $1,200, assuming you make under 70 or 100K a year.
Yeah. It's insane.
It's totally insane. Yeah, it's totally insane. No, it's really that so much, I think, effort has been on the monetary structure, and that the fiscal side has gotten so little attention.
Yeah.
Because I think, all that monetary inflation, them printing money, I think it, not I think. Look at it. It's all going to the people who already own wealth and
right.
already have things.
Yeah,
it's
just
insane. Unfucking believable. I wish the fiscal piece was the leading element.
Of course. One thing I was going to say, too, going back to sustainability, taking it back a little bit.
Yeah.
One thing we've been trying is not just throwing away something that breaks. And I'm really guilty of that. If something breaks, just let's get rid of it. Like, do we need it? No, toss it, like, or donate or whatever. But if it's like something that's broken, but now we're both making an active effort to just say like, can we fix this? Is this like a $5 part instead of it ending up in a landfill? And that's been kind of cool. Like that's been being home more and not.
It used to be so much more like that, man. My grandpa we'd be driving Wisconsin. He'd pull over on the side of a road and pick up an old lawnmower, pick up an old this or that, just try to work on something, take it home. Oh, it's got a little life left in it, throw a spark plug in it.
Yeah.
The world was really built to be that way.
Yeah.
It was built to last.
Yeah. And
now everything is definitely kind of a throwaway.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you plan for like the obsolescence of it, and after 2 years, like especially with electronics, but yeah, I was very guilty of not doing that. And then you realize like, oh, this is like a $4 part that I can find 18 videos on YouTube on how to change it. Like middle-aged men with cameras and YouTube are the greatest thing ever when it comes to fixing stuff.
Dude.
Oh my God.
Truth. I've been a landlord 8 years. I'll tell you, there's a couple times I've been like in the tenant's kitchen fixing something, and I'm like, okay, this is going good, but I'll be right back. And I'll go to the basement and watch like a YouTube video quickly. Like, how the fuck do I? Okay, that's where that is. Okay, and I go back up. Be like, I got it. I got it.
Your tenant's probably like, damn, James knows how to fix all this stuff. Like, jeez.
It's like, yeah, but he refuses to take his AirPod out while he's fixing that thing. I'm just kidding. I've never fixed anything with AirPods in. It sounds like the douchiest.
Can you give me a second? I'm listening to Kygo real quick. Like, this is a sick beat. Let me just. I need to get in the mood to fix this.
I just want to make sure my headspace is clear for this pipe to be tightened here. I just gotta get in on it.
Let me ask you this question. Mm-hmm. It just popped in my head. Has your music or movie taste changed since like COVID? Are you more like, the world's chaotic now, so I want to listen to more mellow stuff, or I don't want to watch like apocalypse movies because
I can tell you.
We're living in one.
I can tell you.
Yeah.
I think because everything has gotten so serious and so important and immediate, I think because it's like stay home or you could catch this thing and die.
Yeah.
I think because the current news has become so important that I shifted from someone who's already very into nonfiction and that type of media to someone who's even more like that.
Okay.
So I'm watching a lot more news.
Okay.
I'm consuming just a lot more visual news. I do occasionally find myself wanting to watch something light.
Yeah,
So it's not just like COVID shit all day or economic downturn stuff all day, job losses all day, stuff that I'm trying to protect myself on, but you do need to be careful about.
Yeah.
For repeated exposure. I think it just pushed me a little bit toward nonfiction more. And then the other thing I'll say is longer form, so movies. I started watching more movies, and I started watching more nonfiction. So in that way, it's
interesting. Okay.
The stuff that I do watch that's fiction, but even then I watch documentary movies, so it doesn't even count. So the stuff I do watch, it's longer. It's The Last Dance. It's longer series stuff. So those are, I think, the main changes.
What about music?
I haven't listened to much music. Okay. Just because I've made my own.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
I've been like headphones on, editing, this jam journal, this and that. And
you can like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. And then, and then honestly, those are my 2 hours that day with headphones on. Yeah. You know, I don't want these things. All right, I have to film a podcast or something. Yeah, sure. So I'm maxing out. Obviously, I mentioned having the AirPods in, fixing things.
Yeah, obviously.
No, but so I kind of max out, and I haven't been listening to music. It stinks. I've been playing music. I've been drumming. But my consumption, I'll just say it. My consumption on a lot of stuff has been down. Yeah. But my production has been up.
That's good.
I feel like I need to consume the immediate important info, the news, and then I need to produce some shit. Yeah. So I've kind of in a, I don't want to say like a survival mode. I'm in a very serious period though where I'm trying to allocate. You know, I'm trying to focus in that way. Gotcha. Have you had like a different Netflix history since this whole thing started?
It's been a little bit different for Sam and I. We've gotten into trivia, which is so random for us.
You're answering a lot of questions, you and Sam.
Yeah.
How about, I'll turn my media question to this. Are you and Sam still watching everything together, or like has your media habits diverged, converged?
They've actually, it's a great question.
Because the TV, a lot of times you have one TV in the house.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. I think with being home and being together a lot more now, one personality trait of mine is like initially I always want to do everything together. So I was like, let's run together, let's bike together, let's do this together, let's do that together. And it was like borderline unhealthy at points because when she was like, let's intermittent fast together, and she's like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm like, come on, let's just try it. And then she would be like, no, I'm not interested in intermittent fasting. Like, she's like, I don't want to do it. I'm like, and I get all pissy about it. Like, oh, you don't want to do this with me? Like, it was very unhealthy. Right. And so one thing that's come up from like, is having these real discussions on, we were running together, and I started getting more and more competitive. Like maybe because I wasn't at work so much, but I was like, we got to run faster. Like we had some friend texted us like, oh, we just started running and I'm running like 9-minute miles. I'm like, oh, hell no. Like we gotta get to 9 minutes. And she's like, I'm doing the best that I can. And like, I took it to the extreme. And then we had like an actual conversation. And that's been the nice thing about quarantine too, is like you can really flesh out some of these issues that maybe like get masked because you're like, I see you on the weekends, I see you in the evenings. Like, yeah, I want to spend time with you. But now that we're spending every minute together, it's also like, hey, we could do different things. And that's been a revelation for me to be like, okay, you can do that. I'm going to do this. And so like, I've started watching Ozarks just by myself, which was cool. Nice. Because it's supposed to be really good. I mean, it is really good. So I've been actually moving towards more like serious stuff.
Okay, a little bit serious. Is Ozark something that you tried to watch with Sam before and it didn't work out, or is it just so happened to be a hot show at the time that you're picking a show and that's how you got there? Because I know you had also watched Succession, some of the other like hot, awesome contemporary dramas, you know? Yeah,
I think it was more of like I needed a show to watch. I felt like I was in kind of a funk of what to watch, what not to watch, because I also have a tendency like, oh man, there's 3 seasons that are an hour long each. Like I really don't want to commit to that. Like sitting down for an hour to watch something.
It's like, a lot.
Yeah, it felt like a lot before, but now it's like, yeah, what's an hour? So I started watching Ozarks by myself. I think I've kind of haven't been able to find a good laugh out loud comedy, and that's where I've been struggling with like a good sitcom show.
You know what I watched as a movie that I found surprisingly funny was not surprisingly. I liked it. It was The Wrong Missy, that David Spade movie.
Did you watch that?
With Lauren Lapkus?
Yeah.
Lauren Lapkus is so fucking funny in that thing. Oh my god, it's great.
Nice.
Just talk about just like a distraction, feel good, enjoy yourself type movie. Of course, like Rob Schneider's in that thing. You know, Rob Schneider makes an appearance. It's got like that Sandler crew feel.
We
1 hour of pleasant conversation is complete. Please return to your coronavirus isolation lifestyles.
Oh, it's hilarious.
How terrifying does that sound? Hearing it for the first time.
It just threw me off.
I was like, James isn't talking right now.
I was like, what's happening? Like, oh, is the audio going bad?
Love The Wrong Missy though.
Yeah.
And just it's just like they went out, they weren't the right match, and it's like they accidentally went on the world's craziest date again together. It's like that's it, but it's funny. You just enjoy it. And
we did that with The Lovebirds on Netflix. That just came out yesterday. It has like Kumail and Issa Rae.
Okay, I just saw that. I was like, I didn't know this was gonna be on Netflix.
Yeah,
I thought it was a movie or something.
It was, and then Netflix bought it because they couldn't put it in
so
theaters.
It is a movie. Okay,
yeah.
I just saw it yesterday.
And it was okay. It was nice to it was real light, and it was like a rom-com, and it was just nice to watch for sure. Yeah. But I've struggled. I've moved to just super serious. Like I watched Dallas Buyers Club the other day. Yeah.
I love it. That's a good one.
Oh, so good. I think you made a joke about Jared Leto in that, and then I decided to watch it.
I'd like to know what that was right now. I'm not sure exactly.
It was something about, I can't even remember now, about Jared Leto being crazy, but not that crazy.
It's funny, when you said Dallas Buyers Club, I was instantly motivated to make some joke about 30 Seconds to Mars and an Academy Award or something. So I definitely had that Jared Leto joke feel. Something was there. Like that same sort of energy was coming out of my surface again.
So
definitely feel like I was getting that way. But you've been watching some serious shit.
Yeah, it's been like dark things, and I don't know why that is. I've been trying to consume less media in terms of the news because it is just so dark, and it makes sense. It's a tough time right now.
Do you think that because everything has kind of been recalibrated in terms of what's important or what is even considered to be dark, that has kind of led to you exploring this part of the human psyche that we usually kind of don't explore, like the fact that everything can be going wrong and you can be locked in your house and there can be a murderer behind you, or for Dallas Buyers Club that you can be hooked on this or that, or you can't have a disease, this and that, or you can't. Yeah. Do you think part of it is because you're being forced to acknowledge of the horrors of real life?
Yeah.
And that it's just making it like less of a big deal to watch it on a movie?
I think it's definitely that, and then you kind of touched on it too, like escapism. Like with a comedy, it's 20 minutes and you watch it and you're like, okay, I know this is like a comedy and it's not a big, but like when you watch a show that's pretty serious and that's 3 seasons, you start to get really invested in it, and you're like, okay, this has a good payoff, and I want to know what happens to these characters next. Where a sitcom kind of like neatly wraps it up, but there's one storyline going the whole time. A lot of comedies are like that, and so at least with the drama, it's like, yeah, there's this serious stuff going on, but I can go to this place and escape, and know like it's fake and serious at the same time too.
Right. That's true. Yeah, the stakes aren't exactly the same. And you might just, I don't know, I'm trying to think, do you just need more of the severity, of the seriousness to just elicit the same sort of reaction? Yeah. That, or I'm trying to think, maybe our modern comedies, maybe right now all the comedy on TV, they're joking about Corona. And you're like, I don't fucking need to hear 15 jokes about the Corona. Like, I want to escape from the Corona. Right. So that if you really, truly need escapism, some sort of drama, new fictionalized world would be more useful for that way.
We have gotten into trivia a lot. We've been watching Jeopardy on Netflix. It's been really fun.
Keep your mind sharp.
Yeah, and just they're 20 minutes. We eat lunch together. We'll watch an episode of Jeopardy. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Or like, we'll impress each other with random like facts that we happen to know. And you're like, oh, you knew about the War of 1812 or whatever it is, like, or Hemingway or whatever. That part, it just seems like fun. It's like a little game. Like, we've been playing more games and stuff too, just to.
I like the opportunity to get to know someone you know so well already, though, your partner. Like, just setting yourself up to be surprised by someone. Yeah,
and it's fun. I think like it's fun to play games now too. Like it has seemed like a return to some core values that maybe life had gotten too busy. Like, we're eating together, we're cooking together, like we're not eating out so much, or being like, okay, you eat dinner at 6, I'm gonna eat at 6:30. Like, it's been pretty healthy in that sense. Like, we'll eat together now, we'll play games together. Yeah. So a lot of bad things about Corona, obviously, but one good thing is at least the people that are together, like, are the ones that are successful, like paying off on that interest of building that relationship, like as you mentioned earlier, like
absolutely
are able to do it. Like you and Shavana too. Like you guys are watching a movie every night at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. or whenever. Like
we've fallen off on that.
Yeah.
That was too regular. That was too much.
Yeah.
But it was nice to finally focus on those things again, and yeah, to like you said, get interest from the things that you work so hard for. I mean, this podcast is that. You know,
Yeah.
we waited a long time to do this podcast. Like,
it's been great.
Started doing it 6 months ago, and really,
Yeah.
it's been, you know, part schedule, part everything else that's happening. Like literally, it's been hard to get you over here.
Yeah. No,
and,
I mean,
and now we're having to do it outside the garage. I was planning to do all this in.
Goes back to persistence, like you mentioned earlier.
It does. No, actually, that's the one thing that shooting this thing outside, sweating my ass off, getting sunburned, has proved to me that I do have the persistence for it.
Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, that's awesome.
Although I will say, persistence feels very easy when I get to sit down with people as quality as yourself, and we get to, you know, just do the thing that humans were put here for.
Oh, it's
just
great.
Talking and enjoying ourselves.
I really thought this was going to be a little weird, like a lot weirder when we started, but it's been so easy.
Good, man. Well, Christ, I mean, we've been practicing for a quarter century.
That's true. Yeah, you know.
Well, come on again. If it's so easy, you going to come on again?
Done.
We'll do it again. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. At least get the quarantine check-in at some point, you know, down the road. But, of course, just would love to hear more of your thoughts, Arpit.
Yeah, no, this was great.
Thank you for talking.
Thanks for having me.
Until the next time, I'll say bye. The wave to, I think this is the only one alive right now, the only camera.
Did my camera die?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, it did. That one died. I got the third one. We still got 2 out of 3.
All right, not bad.
Bye, everyone.
All right, see you guys.